All hail Biafra. This is Biafra Liberation Army Network coming to you again. Please do subscribe, like, share, and comment.
Indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and their militant arm, the Eastern Security Network, ESN. We regret to state that this development has continued to have negative effect on the socioeconomic and political lives of Southeast indigenes and residents who suffer losses each time the aberration happens. Each time the aberration happens. So, now, they said, as a people, we are known to be peaceful and hospitable, considering our entrepreneurial spirit, which makes us accommodating in every aspect. It is noteworthy that whatever IPOB members are agitating for may have lost its steam and essence against the backdrop of the fact that their brothers and sisters are the ones at the receiving end of their activities. Also deserving of our loud condemnation is the recent attack on troops at a checkpoint in Abia State, resulting in killing of at least 5 soldiers whose only sin was the protection of lives and property of indigenes. As a result of this dastardly act and others across our states, we declare total support for Operation Udoka and urge the military to ensure that the enemies of Southeast are smoked out from wherever they may be hiding and dealt with appropriately. We also use this opportunity to appeal to the government of Finland and the European Union, EU, to repatriate the fugitive Simon Ekpa, who has continued to instigate violence from his hiding place while disparaging the Nigeria state. From his hiding place. Last time I checked, Mazi Simon Ekpa usually go outing. Even most of the times he take his son out, out for football or for swimming or for many things. He goes out in like every other normal human being. Now, without we are going to I told you I know the person who wrote this, right? I'm going to tell you who wrote it. Forget about these names you see here. Don't mind all these concocted, stupid, and idiotic names written here are all fake. I will tell you who wrote it. All these names you see here, where are those names? All these ones, all these useless names you see here, they are all fake. These are all fake names. I will tell you who wrote it. I will actually tell you the person who wrote this junk. Just be with us. Just bear with me. Now, they say, meanwhile, the CSEPNND has tasked political authorities in the zone, especially governors, federal and state lawmakers and ministers, on the compelling need to support the military in its quest to restore peace and order across the Southeast geopolitical entity. The group also passed a vote of confidence in the military high command led by the Chief of Defense Staff, CDS, General Christopher Gwabim Musa. Hi, Chinikimi. I will tell you who wrote it. Don't worry yourself. I will tell you the person in question who wrote this, and then I will tell you the gang of the. Before I tell you the person who wrote it, I'm going to do something very, very important, very, very significant, as I usually do. so that ka anyị nwike ịgba for ọtọ n'ime afịa. I gbasịa for ọtọ n'ime afịa, mgbazie go edele. All right, let's continue. This is very, very interesting. This is becoming very, very, very interesting. They said, all right, they said, the statement concluded thus: we are by this statement challenging our political office holders, especially governors, senators, members of House of Representatives, ministers, and House of Assembly members to show more commitment to the fight against insecurity by providing funds and equipment to the military and other security agencies operating.
Get more from your budget with Google Ads. Get $300 in ad credit when you spend your first $300. Get recommendations, decide your monthly budget, and adjust at any time. Google Ads help you measure results and make the most of your ad spend. See what Google Ads can do for your business. Terms and conditions apply.
In their land. There is the urgent need for Southeast states to set up internal security platforms to complement the effort of the military and other security agencies. What about Bubatono? What about the Anambra Vigilante group, Anambra Vigilante, AVG, Anambra Vigilante Group, AVG, that Soludo is using to cause terror in Anambra State? What about that one? What about the Newi Vigilante Group, Ifeanyoba's terrorist group? What about them? What about Forest Guard in Enugu State? What are they doing? What about the Dead Man Squad? What are they doing? You still want to set up another one? The same people setting up armed groups, giving them compassion to commit crime in our land. The same group. You have met your Waterloo Cape Azua. You have met your Waterloo Cape Azua. Now they said, we will continue to sorry. Excuse me. They said, we will not conclude without commenting the untiring effort made by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tawi-To Labaja, Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ogala, and the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Abubakar Hassan, to defend Nigeria's sovereignty against violations. Nigeria sovereignty. Oh, Guinea. I remember my sister. Where is my sister? Kedafa, my sister. Adadiola ma onyenkem. With vam fascino. Oh, Guinea. Mad people everywhere. Ndi soji. Kedi fi melon di soji. Now, when you read these things and when you go through this nonsense, you may say because they say they are from Southeast. Some people will be commenting. They say Igbos don't love themselves. Who told you that Igbos don't love themselves? Who told you that? You can never get a better tribe in the world today. You can never see any tribe in the world today that love themselves more than the Igbo tribe. I can assure you that. That is not why we are here now, but I can give you instances. That is the reason why wherever you go in the world today, Igbo people gather themselves in a certain area and do their normal businesses, their legitimate businesses. Yes. That is sign of love. That is sign of unity. That is sign of oneness. Igbos gather themselves in one particular area challenge each other, compete with each other to become best and better, to become better. Because without competition, you can never bring the best out of yourself. We love competition within ourselves. We love competition. And that competition is not envy. It depends on how you see it. Competition has nothing to do with envy. With competition, you can be able to bring the best out of yourself. So Igbos go to anywhere they go in the world, they gather themselves together. Let us use ordinary Lagos as an example. Where do you have Igbos in Lagos? You go to Alaba, they are Igbos. Go to Trade Fair, they are Igbos. They gather themselves together, they pamper each other, they rapport within themselves. Work together. Even though you go to Alaba, if you leave east today and travel to Lagos, go to Alaba with nothing, without anything, and you are focused. If you are focused, give yourself only 2 years. 2 years. If you don't own a shop, at least you own a counter. If you don't own a shop, after 2 years of hustling in Alaba, you must own a counter. At least ordinary counter, and you left with nothing. You left east with nothing. So don't buy that idea of Igbos don't love that. There's nothing like that. Absolutely nothing. Go to abroad, you see. Igbo people gather themselves in one place, do their businesses, challenge themselves, bring out the best in them. And that is the envy of other tribes, not just in the zoo, but other parts of Africa, or if not the world at large. Now, coming back to this junk, this is their name. They say this is their name here, right? Let us first of all copy their full name. Operating under the canopy of Coalition of Southeast Professionals Network in Nigeria and Diaspora. This is their name, their full name. Let us copy.
Remain adamant that he probably is not going to allow this. He said the unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable. That clearly indicates that he's not going to relent in his push to silence any voice of dissenting as far as that position is concerned. So which way forward to heal the divide between or amongst the Nigerians, especially on the Biafra crisis?
I think the best thing is to ask them what they want. I remember one time Professor Wole Soyinka said, if we can continue fighting Biafrans for such a long time, it's not long before we go to war, which is actually happening right now. Why don't we ask them what they want? And for sure they have voiced and they have said it, that they want referendum. Why? Because for a long time, they do not have a mutual understanding with the rest of the Nigeria nation. They are not understood. They are marginalized for such a long time. They are not wanted by the rest of the Nigerian government. So the best thing is to take them to a referendum so that we know exactly what they want and separate them if that is exactly what they want. Why? Because if we continue like this, these are crises not only in Nigeria, but it will have a ripple effect to the bordering countries. And with time, it will have a big effect to the African countries. As I'm talking, Africa has the largest immigrants to the world. It has the largest refugees to the rest of the continent. Why is that so? It's because of such crises that we can see in Biafra and Amazonia and other countries like Sudan. So I think before we even move forward, it's very important that we give all their given referendum. From there, they can be able to sort out the rest of the challenges. And it's quite unfortunate because we have diplomatic missions in Nigeria. Why can't they take that issue with them and sort it out? Why are they quiet? Why is the world quiet when Biafrans are suffering? Why is the world quiet when we know very well that such issues can affect the whole of the African continent? It's quite sad, and that's why as Punchline Africa TV will continue talking to the world and saying that these people need a referendum. They're not needed. If you don't need me in your space, give me what I want so that I can self-govern myself, which I think it's a good way and a diplomatic way of allowing people to go their way.
Mm-hmm. That would be cool. Coupled with that, I would like you to approach it from a different angle altogether. What probably could have informed this agitation for, of course, separation, for a referendum to go separate ways between, of course, Nigeria and the people of Biafra? Let's approach it from that angle, as you and ask ourselves, what probably can we do to see into it that we find a healing in this divide?
Yeah, I think it's paramount to understand that for starters, there was no redemption, and the word you just used, healing, from the first Biafran crisis in 1967, to the 3 years fighting. And if you remember very well, there was a brief period where they got their independence, and then the Nigerian military decided to send all the planes to just bomb indiscriminately anybody who was found in that region. And those scars are passed on in what is called transgenerational trauma. You don't even have to tell your child about this. It's the same thing that affects most African countries. You don't really need to tell your child, hate this person or hate this person, but the way you behave and the way you talk about these things and the tone with which you use, your children pick that, and then they grow up with that. They send it to their children and their children's children, and each generation comes forth understanding their history and knowing very well that we are the people who have been marginalized in a country where we are one of the most, we are creating profit. We're bringing GDP, one of the highest rates of GDP. We're bringing the largest group of intelligent people. We're bringing the largest group of talented people. And yet we are the people who are not benefiting from all this. And this crisis goes on in most of the countries that we are finding, we are finding, in the African continent with protests currently like Amazonia and Ethiopia. If you bring in another angle of how the Nigerian government has been dealing with this agitation, I believe, or I think, if they were to avoid the situation that they're finding themselves in, they really should have addressed the issue of why there was a Biafran war. There was a Biafran war, rather, in the first place. As it is, they are taking the Paul Biya approach of assuming everything is fine because we're in Lagos, while everything is not fine. People continue to die. You continue to apply the colonial methodology of handling protests, and that is arresting people arbitrarily, disappearing people arbitrarily. For a very long time, we don't know where Nnamdi Kanu is. That should not happen in this day and age. For a very long time, I don't know how many Biafrans have disappeared, how many have run from their homes, fearing persecution or fearing death. And that is a very old, very archaic way of dealing with these protests. Most of these African governments could have benefited and could have avoided this crisis if they came forth and asked the people, what is it we can do for you? Where did we go wrong? How can we institute healing to begin in the Biafran region to start with? How can we make sure that we set up, even if it's a ministry, or talk to the Ministry of Devolution, because Nigeria was one of the countries that started the federal system in Africa, and yet you have people with no roads. It makes zero sense, and that is a very bad conviction on devolution in Africa. So as it is, I think the onus is on the Nigerian government, first of all, to understand why there was a Biafran war in the first place, understand why it still goes on, ask the people what they want, and as it is right now, if they asked the people 10 years ago, the needs will be different, because right now all they want is a referendum. All they want is a referendum, and if they get that referendum, they're going to get out of Nigeria. They're going to vote and ratify that they need to be separate from Nigeria. The thing that the federal government of Nigeria fears about this is because they'll lose most of their resources and they'll lose most of their manpower and that skilled labor. This is something they should have addressed, to prevent the anthills building a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like that. You said if probably the Federal Republic of the federal government of Nigeria will have asked the people of Biafra what they want 10 years ago, things would have been different. Maybe the needs would have been different, but as it is today, the only call, and it remains so, is a referendum and nothing short of it. Let me hear from Linda Alela what you have to say about it. How can we heal the divide in Nigeria, more so with the Biafra crisis?
All right. Thank you so much, Tawish. Of course, the rest of the panel and the viewer. I've just gone an extra mile to try and understand all this crisis. It's a bit of history in Nigeria. And the Biafra problem is more than meets the eye. And it has gone to a level whereby I would say, it's a point of no return. I was looking to some report, or maybe at some reports that were suggesting that maybe in the year 2023 or years to come, Nigeria is likely to split even more into not just having Biafra on this at the end, but a couple of others, around six
states.
Yes, over 6 states. So that is to tell you there's a big problem in Nigeria, not just in Biafra land. Maybe the few people of Biafra have realized how capable they are. They are learned to a level whereby they know very well that they can govern themselves. They have tried in the federal system. They have traditional and local leaders where you find the Igwes, and they realize how possible it is for them to be able to work out things as a people. They enjoy the numbers, the people of Biafra. You know very well that they have a huge population that can literally actually form and sustain a country for that matter. There's the question of resources, proper resources coming from the region of Biafra, talking about the Igbo, of course talking about the oil, that of course the external hand has major interest on. So the traditional and local leaders where you find the Igwes.
Please let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Please let me know in the comment section.